My child, I have seen you. I have watched from the heights of my glory and from the intimate spaces of your own heart as you have navigated the shadows of this difficult season. I have been there in the quiet rooms where you laid out the papers and the receipts, where the numbers refused to align with your needs, and where the weight of the world felt like a physical burden pressing against your chest. I have seen the tears you shed in secret, the ones you wiped away quickly before anyone else could see, because you felt you had to be the strong one, the provider, the one who holds it all together. I want you to know that in my eyes, you do not have to hide. I am your father, and I see the hidden pain of your financial struggle not with judgment, but with a deep, consuming compassion that is already moving on your behalf. There is a silence that comes with a lonely heart, a silence that grows loud when the wallet is thin and the future feels like a mist you cannot pierce. I have heard that silence. I have felt the vibration of your anxiety as you wondered if I had forgotten the work of my hands. But how could I forget you, my beloved? You are engraved upon the palms of my hands. Every bill that has caused you to tremble, every debt that has whispered lies of failure into your ear, and every moment of scarcity that made you feel small, I have taken note of them all. This season of lack is not your identity. It is merely a threshold you are crossing. I am inviting you now to come away with me. Leave the calculators and the spreadsheets at the door of my presence. I am not a god of arithmetic. I am the God of the overflow. I am the architect of the heavens and the earth, the one who commands the morning and tells the sea where to stop. Do you truly believe that your bank account is a mystery to me, or that your needs have outpaced my ability to provide? I am calling you into a holy rest. I know that sounds contrary to everything the world tells you. The world says to strive, to hurry, to worry, and to exhaust yourself in pursuit of the grain that perishes. But I say to you, rest in me while I begin the work of restoration. Restoration is a quiet work at first. It begins in the soil of your spirit, where I am removing the thorns of fear and the rocks of bitterness that have hindered your harvest. I am healing the trauma of not enough. For too long, you have lived in the expectation of the void, waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for the next crisis to drain what little you have managed to save. I am breaking that cycle today. Look at me. Look into the eyes of your Father, who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills and the wealth hidden in the secret places of the earth. I am making a promise to you that is anchored in my own character. This time next year, your wallet will not be empty. This time next year, you will look back at this moment of desperation, and it will seem like a dream from which you have finally awakened. I am preparing a table for you in the presence of your debts. I am opening the windows of heaven to pour out a blessing that you will not have room enough to receive. But the work begins here, in the stillness. You cannot carry the abundance of the future if your hands are still clenched in the panic of the present. Open your hands. Let go of the shame you have carried regarding your finances. It is not a sin to have a need, but it is a divine invitation to see me move. I am the God who provided manna in the desert and water from the rock. I am the God who multiplied the oil for the widow and the bread for the thousands. I have not changed. My power has not diminished, and my love for you has never wavered. This journey toward your season of overflow starts with a single step of trust. I want you to breathe. I want you to feel the warmth of my spirit surrounding you, reminding you that you are an heir to a kingdom that knows no recession. Your inheritance is not subject to the markets of men or the fluctuations of the world's economy. It is secured by my word. Rest now, my child. Lay your head upon my shoulder and let the rhythm of my heart soothe the frantic beating of yours. The restoration has already begun. The seeds are moving beneath the surface. The drought is breaking, and the sound of an abundance of rain is rising on the horizon. Trust me. I am your Father, and I will not let you fail. Open your eyes, my child, but not the eyes that look at numbers on a screen or the thinness of a leather fold. I am calling you to look deeper, past the surface of things, into the heart of my kingdom where lack is an impossibility. The emptiness you feel today, the hollow ache that comes when you wonder how the ends will meet, is nothing more than a temporary veil. It is a thin, translucent fabric stretched over the reality of my provision, designed by the enemy of your soul to make you think the horizon is empty. But I am the architect of the horizon, and I tell you, it is crowded with the caravans of my grace, already en route to your door. You have spent too long measuring your worth by the currency of a falling world. You have allowed the flickering digits of a bank balance to tell you who you are and what you are capable of. Stop. Listen to my voice. Do you think I would stake the destiny of my beloved on the shifting sands of an earthly economy? Your value was set before the foundations of the world were laid, bought with a price far above rubies or gold. You are not a pauper trying to catch the crumbs of a distant king. You are the child of the sovereign, sitting at the table where the feast never ends. This veil of lack is meant to distract you, to keep your gaze fixed on the ground, so you miss the glory of the sunrise I am painting for you. When you look through the eyes of the Spirit, you see that the desert is already pregnant with the harvest. You see that every no you have received from the world was mine not this way, clearing the path for a yes that will overflow your barns. This time next year, the memory of this current struggle will be like a faint shadow from a dream from which you have awakened. You will look back and marvel at how the dry ground broke open to reveal springs of water you never knew were there. I am recalibrating your vision. I am teaching you to walk by faith and not by sight, for sight sees the empty wallet, but faith sees the storehouses of heaven standing open, waiting for the command to pour out. Your future in my kingdom is not dictated by what you have lost, but by what I am about to release. You are entering a season where the math of heaven will defy the logic of men, where 1 + 1 does not equal 2, but 1,000, because I have added my more to your little. Rest in this truth. Your bank account is a snapshot of a fleeting moment, but my promise is the eternal portrait of your life. I am moving the mountains of debt and the hills of worry that have blocked your view for so long. I am making a way where there was no way, carving paths through the wilderness of your finances. By this time next year, you will not only have enough, you will have a surplus to sow into the lives of others, for I am making you a conduit of my blessing, a river that does not run dry. The veil is thinning, the light is breaking through. Do not be deceived by the temporary silence of the seeds. They are growing in the dark, preparing to burst forth with a strength that will surprise you. I am your Father, and I take no pleasure in your lack. I delight in your prosperity, not just the kind that fills a vault, but the kind that fills a soul with peace and a home with joy. Your wallet is not a measure of my love, nor is it a boundary for my power. I am the God of the widow's jar that never ran dry and the boy's lunch that fed a multitude. If I can sustain them, why do you doubt I will sustain you? I am weaving a new story for you, one where not enough is replaced by more than enough. This is the education of your spirit, learning to trust that I am your source. When you stop looking at the world as your provider and start looking at me, the chains of financial anxiety will fall away like rusted iron. You will walk with a new lightness, a new confidence, knowing that your Father is the owner of every hill and every head of cattle upon them. Look up, my child. The clouds are heavy with the rain of my favor, and the wind is shifting in your direction. The season of the empty hand is over. The season of the lifted head has begun. Believe that I am who I say I am. Believe that I will do what I have promised. This time next year, your testimony will be one of a miraculous turnaround, a divine reversal that only I could orchestrate. Trust the hands that hold the stars. They are the same hands that are filling your life with good things. Do not be afraid. The The drought is a shadow, but my provision is the substance. Walk with me into the light of this new day and watch how I make all things new. Breathe deeply, my child, and let the air of my spirit fill those places where you have been holding your breath for far too long. Can you feel it? The subtle, persistent tightening in your chest, the knot that forms whenever you look at your accounts or think of the months to come. I am reaching into that space now to gently untie it. You have been carrying the weight of the world on shoulders I designed only to carry my light yoke. This heaviness is not from me. It is the residue of 1,000 what-ifs that have cluttered the sanctuary of your heart. You ask, what if the resources run dry? What if the help I need never arrives? What if I am left behind in the race of life? These questions are thieves, stealing the peace of the present moment and building a wall between you and the flow of my grace. I want you to stop and listen to my voice above the din of your anxieties. Replace every what if with the power of I am. When the spirit of lack whispers of a barren tomorrow, you must answer, I am as my shepherd, I shall not want. When the fear of debt looms like a shadow, remind your soul, I am as my deliverer. When the world tells you that you are not enough, stand tall in the knowledge that I am as my strength. By shifting your focus from the uncertainty of your circumstances to the certainty of my character, you break the chains of financial paralysis. You see, my beloved, worry is a form of spiritual friction. It grinds against the gears of my providence, not because I am unwilling to give, but because worry keeps your hands tightly clenched. You cannot receive a gift with a fist. You cannot hold the abundance of the kingdom while you are white-knuckled, grasping at the scraps of the earth. I am asking you to surrender your ledgers to me. Lay them down, the bills, the debts, the spreadsheets of your struggle, and place them in my hands. You have tried to solve the equation of your life with human math, where 1 + 1 always equals 2. But in my kingdom, I practice a divine arithmetic. I can multiply the 5 loaves and 2 fish until there is more left over than what you started with. I can turn the desert into a place of springs. Your ledger says empty, but my ledger says paid in full and overflowing. This time next year, your wallet will not be a source of stress, but a tool for my glory. You will look at it and remember this moment, this day when you chose to trust the invisible over the visible. You will see how I moved in the background, opening doors you did not even know existed and aligning circumstances for your benefit. The tightening in your chest will be replaced by a heart that beats in rhythm with my peace. You are being moved from the realm of just enough into the realm of more than enough. This transition requires you to stop measuring your worth by your bank balance and start measuring it by my love for you. I am the owner of the silver and the gold, the architect of every opportunity, and the author of your provision. If I can sustain the lilies of the field and the birds of the air, how much more will I do for you, my precious child? The season of looking down at the dust is over. Lift your eyes. See the horizon of my favor. I am pouring out a grace that is not dependent on the economy of man, but on the richness of my glory. As you release your ledgers to me, you are not losing control. You are finally gaining the freedom that comes from being truly cared for. Trust the process of this divine reversal. Trust that the I am, who spoke the stars into being, is the same I am, who is currently refilling your stores. Do not let your heart be troubled. The drought is ending, and the sound of heavy rain is already in the spirit. Walk forward with the lightness of one who knows they are deeply loved and perfectly provided for. Your testimony of abundance starts with this single, surrendered breath. Your hands, once gripped by the fear of scarcity, are now open to receive the fullness of my promise. This time next year, you will testify that the God who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills has prepared a table for you in the presence of your debts. Believe that my grace is more than a concept. It is the substance of your new reality. The ledger of lack is being closed forever, and the ledger of life is being opened in its place. Let the peace that surpasses understanding guard your heart as you step into this overflow. I have already gone before you to make the crooked places straight. My child, do not cast your gaze upon the flickering screens of the world's stock markets or the trembling indicators of earthly wealth, for they are but shadows that shift with the wind. The systems of man are built upon the sand of speculation, but my kingdom is founded upon the rock of my eternal nature. When the world speaks of recession, I speak of restoration. When the headlines cry of scarcity, my spirit whispers of a surplus that the eye cannot yet see, but the heart must begin to feel. Understand that my treasury is not filled with the currency of men, which can be devalued or stolen, but with the boundless riches of my glory. I am the God who provides in the desert, where there are no paths and no visible sources of sustenance. Do you not remember the wilderness wanderings of old? There were no fields to sow and no harvests to reap, yet for 40 years my children did not go hungry. I commanded the very clouds to drop bread, and the morning dew carried the substance of their survival. I caused the flinty rock to split open and pour out living water, turning the dry places into a fountain. This same power is at work within your life today. Your wallet will not be empty because it is no longer tied to the rhythms of an earthly economy. It is tethered to the infinite overflow of my grace. I am teaching you to look past the visible nothing and see the invisible everything that I have already prepared for you. Think of the boy who brought me his 5 small loaves and 2 meager fish. To the disciples, it was a joke in the face of such a vast need, a mere scrap that served only to highlight their lack. But in my hands, the scrap became a miracle. I did not need a bakery to feed the thousands. I only needed a heart willing to hand over the not enough. As I blessed that small offering and broke it, the laws of physics bowed to the laws of my kingdom. Multiplication happened in the space between my hands and their hunger. This is how I am working in your finances right now. You look at what you have and see scraps, but I look at what you have and see the seed of a great harvest. I am the God of the leftover baskets. I do not just meet the need. I exceed it so that you may know that I am your Father and your provider. This time next year, you will not be looking for crumbs. You will be managing the overflow. The fear that has kept you awake at night, the fear that there will never be enough, is being replaced by a holy confidence. You are learning that my provision is not a reaction to your effort, but a response to my covenant. I have promised to be your shepherd, and in me you shall not want. The desert through which you have been walking was never meant to be your graveyard. It was always meant to be your training ground. It is here that you learn that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from my mouth. My word to you today is abundance. My word to you today is overflow. My word to you today is peace. Do not measure my ability by your bank balance. Measure your bank balance by my ability. I am opening the windows of heaven, pouring out a blessing that you will not have room enough to receive. This transformation will be so complete that the memories of this season of lack will seem like a distant dream. You will stand in the marketplace, you will walk through the halls of your home, and you will move through the world with the quiet dignity of one who is backed by the King of Kings. The ledger of lack is closed. The drought has broken. Your hands are full because my heart is for you. Walk in this truth, and watch as I turn your scraps into a feast that never ends. To sustain the feast I am preparing, you must understand the spiritual physics that governs my kingdom. It is the law of gratitude. Many of my children wait for the storehouse to be full before they lift their voices in praise, but I tell you, praise is the very thing that fills the storehouse. Gratitude is not a reaction to what has already arrived. It is the invitation for what is yet to come. It is the spiritual frequency that aligns your heart with the abundance of heaven. When you find one small thing to thank me for today, even if it is as simple as the breath in your lungs or the light of the morning sun, you are turning a key in a gate that has been locked by the heavy chains of worry. I want you to look around your life right now, in the midst of the struggle, and find that one seed of goodness. Do not overlook it because it seems small. In my hands, the small is the blueprint for the great. When you offer me your thanks for the little you have, you are telling the heavens that you are a faithful steward of my grace. This heart of thanks acts as a spiritual magnet, pulling the harvest of your prayers from the invisible realm into the visible. You see, complaining focuses your eyes on the void, and where your eyes are fixed, your life will follow. But gratitude focuses your eyes on my face, and my face is the sun that matures every seed you have sown in tears. I am watching for the one who will sing in the dark. I am looking for the heart that can find a reason to rejoice while the wallet is still light. This is the spiritual physics of the kingdom. That which is appreciated appreciates. That which is given to me with a thankful heart is multiplied beyond your wildest calculations. When you thank me today for the meal on your table, however humble, you are making room for the banquet of tomorrow. This is how you open the gates. This is how you ensure that this time next year, the emptiness you once feared will be a shadow of the past. Your gratitude creates a current in the spirit that lack cannot withstand. It creates a vacuum that my provision rushes to fill. Do not wait for the manifestation to begin your celebration. The celebration is the catalyst for the manifestation. If you can trust me enough to say, "Thank you," before you see the gold, you will have the character to handle the gold when it overflows from your hands. I am training you in the art of the harvest. A heart of thanks is the most fertile soil you can provide for my miracles. It is the sound of the gates of heaven swinging wide. As you practice this daily, looking for the tiny mercies I scatter along your path like breadcrumbs, you will find that your path begins to widen. The scarcity that once hemmed you in will begin to retreat. You are not just surviving, you are attracting. You are not just waiting, you are inviting. Every word of thanks you utter is a decree in the spirit realm that you belong to the kingdom of more than enough. Let your life become a symphony of gratitude, starting with that one small thing today. Watch as the spiritual physics of my love transforms your environment. The drought cannot stay where praise resides. The emptiness cannot linger where a thankful heart dwells. This time next year, you will see the full fruit of this moment's gratitude. You will look at your wallet, you will look at your life, and you will realize that the seeds of your thanksgiving have grown into a forest of provision. Your season of overflow is being fueled by the fire of your praise. Keep that fire burning, for it is the beacon that guides your harvest home. The laws of my kingdom are as certain as the rising sun. When you give thanks, you are applying a force to the spiritual atmosphere that shifts the winds of favor in your direction. It is not a matter of if the blessing will arrive, but a matter of how quickly your praise can build the bridge for it to cross. Understand that I do not need your thanks to feel valued, for I am God. You need your thanks to remain connected to the source of all value. Gratitude keeps the channel open. It prevents the rust of bitterness from seizing the gears of your destiny. When you thank me for the single dollar in your hand, you are acknowledging the hand that provides it, and my hand is never empty. This shift in perspective is the difference between a life of wandering and a life of walking in purpose. You are moving from a mindset of what I do not have to a conviction of who I do have. And because you have me, you have everything. This time next year, your testimony will not just be about the money in your wallet, but about the God who taught you how to unlock the windows of heaven through the power of a grateful heart. Let the small things today be the foundation of the wonders tomorrow. Praise me now, and watch the physics of my kingdom rewrite your future. Every grateful thought is a ripple in the ocean of my grace, and those ripples are returning to you as waves of abundance. You have spent many nights leaning over your ledgers, my child, trying to force the numbers to speak a language of peace they do not know. You calculate the distance between your current lack and your future dreams, and the gap you see terrifies you because you are measuring it with human tools. But I am asking you today to put down the pen of your anxiety and the heavy maps of your worry. Your job is to trust. My job is to provide. There is a sacred rhythm in this partnership that you have often interrupted by trying to do both parts. When you attempt to calculate every outcome, you are essentially trying to play the architect of a universe I have already designed. Your perspective is limited to the horizon you can see, but my vision encompasses the eternal. Releasing the need to know the how is the ultimate act of worship. It is the moment you finally admit that my wisdom is greater than your strategy. This time next year, your wallet will not be empty, not because you found a more efficient formula for gain, but because you found a more reliable shepherd. You have been white-knuckling the steering wheel of your life, exhausting yourself by trying to navigate through storms you were never meant to weather alone. Step out of the driver's seat. It is a lonely and heavy place for a child who was built to be led. When you surrender the controls, you are not losing direction. You are finally gaining the divine navigator who knows the shortcuts through the wilderness and the hidden paths to the land of milk and honey. Let my divine wisdom navigate the twists and turns of your career, your investments, and your daily needs. Where you see a roadblock, I see a redirection to something greater. Where you see a drought, I see the deep, ancient wells I am digging beneath your feet that the world cannot see. Prosperity is not merely the presence of coins. It is the absence of the frantic need to control them. When I say your season of overflow begins now, I am speaking to your spirit first, for an anxious heart cannot contain the fullness of my blessings. If you can trust me with the direction of your steps, you can trust me with the destination of your provision. Your future is not a product of your cleverness or your ability to outmaneuver the economy. It is a manifestation of my faithfulness. I am not a God who is surprised by the fluctuations of markets or the closed doors of men. I am the door. I am the source. I am the one who multiplies the loaves and the fishes while the world is still debating the statistics of hunger. Trust that I am moving behind the scenes, aligning resources you haven't even heard of yet and softening hearts you haven't even met. This time next year, you will look back and realize that the moments you finally let go of the wheel were the moments the floodgates actually opened. You have spent so much energy trying to sustain yourself, but the branch does not struggle to produce fruit. It simply stays connected to the vine. I am your vine. Rest in the reality of my abundance. I have the map, I have the fuel, and I have the destination firmly in my hand. Your only requirement is to stay in the seat of my grace and watch the landscape of your life change from barrenness to beauty. Do not let the silence of the waiting period convince you that I am idle. In the quiet, I am building the infrastructure for your increase. I am clearing the debris of your past failures to make room for a foundation that can hold the weight of the gold I am sending. Your wallet will be full because your heart has finally been emptied of the need to be its own savior. Trust me. Let me lead. Watch as the path I have paved for you unfolds into a legacy of overflow that will sustain you and yours for generations to come. I have watched you in the midnight hours, staring at the numbers that would not add up, feeling the cold weight of lack pressing against your chest. I heard every sigh, every whispered question of why, and how much longer. You felt as though you were being diminished, as though the very essence of your life was being trimmed away until there was nothing left but a stump in the frozen earth. But I want you to understand the divine necessity of those lean years. You were not being punished. You were being prepared. You were not being forsaken. You were being fashioned. If I had given you the harvest you craved when your heart was still rooted in the soil of insecurity, the very blessing you prayed for would have become your undoing. Prosperity has a weight that an unprepared soul cannot bear. It acts as a magnifying glass, and whatever is hidden in the shadows of your character, pride, fear, or a sense of self-earned glory, is enlarged when wealth arrives. I loved you too much to let your breakthrough break you. Think of the olive tree, my child. To produce the richest oil, it must endure the harsh winds and the deep pruning. The gardener does not cut the branches because he hates the tree. He cuts because he sees the potential for a harvest that the tree cannot yet imagine. Every cut you felt was a strategic move by my hand to ensure that your future growth would be sustainable. Every no you heard from me was a yes to your future stability. Every door that I slammed shut in your face was a protection against a path that would have led you away from my heart. In those moments when your wallet felt light, I was making your spirit heavy with wisdom. I was teaching you the secret of the manna, that I am enough for today, and I will be enough for tomorrow. I was building in you a resilience that cannot be bought, and a peace that cannot be stolen by a fluctuating market. You learned how to pray when you were hungry. Now you will know how to praise when you are full. This preparation was essential because the season you are entering is not a temporary sprinkle of favor, but a torrential downpour of my goodness. You are stepping into a territory of more than enough. If I had not strengthened your roots in the dry season, the weight of the fruit I am about to hang on your branches would have snapped your spirit. I had to ensure that when the gold begins to flow, it does not become your god. I had to wait until your identity was so firmly anchored in my love that the presence or absence of money could no longer move you. You have passed the test of the desert. You have proven that you can follow me when the path is dusty and the wells are dry. Therefore, you are now a vessel I can trust with the riches of the kingdom. Understand that the pruning was also a process of clearing space. You cannot pour new wine into old, brittle skins. I had to stretch you. I had to expand your capacity to receive. Your old way of thinking, the scarcity mindset that whispered there would never be enough, had to be dismantled. I replaced it with the mind of a steward who understands that my resources are infinite. You are no longer looking at the world through the narrow lens of not enough. You are starting to see through the eyes of my abundance. This internal shift is the most valuable treasure I have given you, for it is the foundation upon which your physical wealth will now be built. The transition from the lean to the large is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of my timing. Look at the landscape of your life now. Do you see how much stronger you have become? Do you see the quiet confidence that has replaced your frantic striving? That is the fruit of the pruning. You are ready. Your hands are open, not clenched in a desperate grip on what you have, but open to receive what I am sending and to release it as I direct. Because you have learned to be faithful with the little, I am now releasing the much. This time next year, the memory of the empty wallet will be like a dream from which you have awakened. You will walk in the fullness of my promise, not because you worked harder, but because you grew deeper. The sap is rising, the buds are forming, and the bloom of your prosperity is inevitable. Your roots are ready for the weight of the glory. I stand today at the gate of your ancestry, a sentinel over the timeline of your blood. I have watched the cycles that have governed your house for generations, the quiet desperation that whispered, "Not enough," into the ears of your fathers, and the heavy shadows of lack that clouded the dreams of those who came before you. I have seen the way scarcity became a language spoken fluently in your home, a heritage of fear that was passed down like a tarnished heirloom. But listen closely, my child. The sound you hear in the spirit today is the sound of a seal being broken. I am the architect of time, and I have stepped into the narrative of your lineage to perform a divine surgery. I am reaching back into the roots of your family tree and severing the withered branches of generational poverty. I am cauterizing the wounds of lack so that the hunger of the past can no longer feed on your future. The not enough mindset is a phantom that has haunted your halls for too long, a ghost of old failures and systemic barriers that I am now commanding to depart. I am rewriting your family story, not with the leaden ink of struggle, but with the golden oil of my favor. I am looking deep into the corridors of your past, tracing the lines of every ancestor who lived in the grip of insufficiency. I see the nights they spent staring at the ceiling, calculating debts, and measuring the distance between their needs and their means. I see the ways that fear settled into their bones, becoming a silent guest at every table. But I am the Lord of the breakthrough, and I declare that the shadow which followed them shall not touch you. I am performing a divine severance. With the sword of my word, I am cutting the cords that tied your identity to the failures of the past. You are not the sum of your family's losses. You are not the product of their limitations. I am transplanting you into a new soil, a ground enriched by the river of my life, where the nutrients of my grace are inexhaustible. Feel the weight of the old mindset falling away, that frantic, buzzing anxiety that tells you to hoard because there might not be more. I am replacing that vibration with the steady, rhythmic pulse of my peace. This not enough mindset is a lie that has overstayed its welcome in your heart. It is a squatter in the temple I built for my glory, and today I am issuing its final eviction notice. Your children will not inherit your anxieties, they will inherit your testimonies. They will not grow up wondering if the storehouse is empty, for they will be raised in the atmosphere of my perpetual overflow. I am establishing you as the pivot point, the one through whom the current of my blessing changes direction. Where there was a drain, I am placing a fountain. Where there was a drought, I am commanding a deluge. Look at your hands. They are no longer the hands of a beggar waiting for crumbs, but the hands of a steward managing a kingdom. This time next year, when you look at your wallet, you will see more than currency. You will see the evidence of a broken curse. You will see the physical manifestation of a spiritual liberation. I am instilling within you a new identity that rejects the crumbs of the world in favor of the feast of my presence. I am teaching your soul to breathe the air of abundance, to stand tall without the stoop of financial shame. You carry the DNA of a king, and it is time for your circumstances to reflect your origin. I am building a legacy through you that will outlast your days, a reservoir of wealth and wisdom that will water the gardens of your children's children. This is my covenant with you, that the cycle of just getting by is finished. The narrative of barely making it is erased. I am replacing it with a new chronicle, one of exceedingly abundantly above. Your life is becoming a lighthouse for others who are still lost in the fog of lack, showing them that I am a father who keeps his promises. I am pouring into you so that you can pour into the world, a conduit of my grace that never runs dry. Rest in this truth. Your struggle was the training ground, but your victory is the inheritance. The transition is complete. The shift is permanent. You are the first of a new generation, a generation of the filled, the satisfied, and the overflowing. My hand is upon your house, and my name is written upon your gates. Welcome to the era of your family's greatness. But even as I establish your house, my child, I must reach into the hidden corners of your mind to uproot a weed that has choked your growth for too long. There is a lie that has masqueraded as piety, a whisper that says to be holy, you must be hungry. It tells you that your devotion is measured by the depth of your deprivation, and that to walk closely with me, you must walk in the dust of lack. Hear me clearly. I did not create the Garden of Eden to be a wasteland. I did not place gold in the earth for it to be hidden from my children, nor did I design the heavens to be brass above your head. I am the Father of lights, and every good and perfect gift comes from my hand. I do not find glory in your emptiness. I find glory in your being filled to the measure of my stature. Do not mistake the seasons of testing for the finality of my will. While I use the wilderness to refine you, the wilderness was never meant to be your home. You were created for the promised land, a land flowing with milk and honey, a place where you would eat bread without scarceness and lack nothing. It is time for you to dismantle the false altar of holy poverty that you have built in the secret places of your heart. I do not need you to be poor to be pure. I am the King of Kings, and I own the cattle on 1,000 hills. If I am your father, then you are an heir to everything I possess. Why would I want my children to beg for crumbs when I have prepared a banquet for them? The world has taught you that scarcity is a sign of spirituality, but that is the language of the orphan, not the child of the king. An orphan worries about the next meal, but an heir knows that the father's storehouse is never closed. This time next year, your wallet will not be a hollow reminder of what you lack. It will be a tool for the expansion of my kingdom. I am shifting your identity from the survivor to the steward. I delight in the prosperity of my servants, not because I want you to worship the gift, but because I want you to represent the giver. When you walk in lack, the world sees a father who cannot provide. But when you walk in my overflow, the world sees a father who is limitless in his love. I am calling you to come higher. Relinquish the pride of the struggle. Some of you have worn your hardship like a badge of honor, but I am asking you to trade that badge for the robe of my favor. It takes more faith to manage abundance than it does to endure lack, for in lack you are forced to depend on me, but in abundance you must choose to depend on me. I am training you for that choice now. Do not fear the wealth that is coming. Fear only the heart that forgets its source. My promise is not just for your survival, but for your significant impact. I am pouring into you because I trust you to be a conduit. You cannot feed the hungry with an empty hand. You cannot house the homeless with an empty house. You cannot fund the gospel with an empty purse. I am filling you so that you can fulfill the assignments I have placed upon your life. This shift is not a suggestion. It is a divine decree. The days of barely enough are being swallowed up by the days of more than enough. As you align your heart with my delight, you will see doors open that no man can shut. You will see resources gravitate toward you because you have finally given me permission to bless you without the weight of guilt. You are my child, and it is my good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Embrace your inheritance. Walk with your head held high, for your Father is the architect of the universe, and he has decided that your season of lack is officially over. The cattle on those 1,000 hills, they are yours to steward, for the glory of my name and the joy of your soul.